Okay, hey everybody, Teching and Barry back again, and as I am sure many of you are already aware, the first official trailer for the One Piece live-action Netflix series is now out, and we're going to be taking a look at that today. It actually came out yesterday, but I was really busy, and I was actually not even home when the trailer dropped, so that's the reason you didn't see like a first reaction or anything yesterday. In fact, for like almost now the last 24 hours, ever since it dropped, I've been getting nothing but messages over YouTube and Twitter that are like super pumped and excited to like, oh, Teching, trailer's out, Teching. Oh my god, did you see the trailer? Oh my god, you got to make a video about it. Where's the video? Where's the reaction? Where is what I am sure is going to be a 45-minute breakdown of a 1 minute and 30-second trailer? Where's it at? So I just got to appreciate all of the fans out there because honestly, there's the hype. And you know what? I'm feeling the hype too. This is a really hype trailer. I really like it. Just immediate first takeaway from that. But I also have to tell you, the first time I saw the trailer, okay, because I was not home, and I was actually at my friend's place with my D&D group. We usually, get together like weekends and play. We actually played Paranoia last night, which was really fun. But before we played, we're kind of chilling out in the living room eating dinner. And this was like, the trailer had been out for like 5 or 6 hours at that point. So I asked my buddy Rob, it's his place, and I'm like, hey, Rob, do you mind if you put up this One Piece live action trailer on YouTube really quick? Because I hadn't seen it yet, and I really wanted to see it before, so just to get my first impressions. And he's like, sure. Now, this was actually really cool because my friend group, there were 6 of us, with me included, and 3 of the group had seen like a little bit of One Piece, like they knew the characters at least, like the main Straw Hats, and like the general premise of the story, but I don't think they were like super caught up. And then I had another friend that had never really watched One Piece at all, I don't think. So this was like his first kind of impression of anything One Piece. And then my other friend had seen, like, he's all caught up with the anime, and he's now starting to read the manga, like right where the anime and manga are kind of at right now. And then you have me, who's seen everything, right? I've seen all. So this was actually a really cool way to see it, because I'm getting not just my reaction, but the reaction from a bunch of different people that are at different stages of like being a fan of One Piece, right? And I have to say, all of our reactions from the trailer were pretty positive, okay? We all really digged it, especially one character. When one character was on the trailer for only a brief moment, only like a second or two, but everyone was like, that was the takeaway. And from what I'm seeing online with a lot of people's reactions, that one character is like a big takeaway on a lot of people. Like, oh, okay, this is gonna be fun, all right? So with that being said, let's just get right into it. Let me just move this over here, move this down here, and then bam. So I'm not going to be playing the actual trailer because of copyright and all that, so I'm going to leave a link to that in the description and a card. I would honestly, if you have not seen the trailer yet, I would say go watch the trailer now, because a big part of the trailer is the soundtrack that plays in the background, and my god, that soundtrack, maybe it's just because, I watched it last night, and then I've been watching it all morning to get ready for this, but my god, that soundtrack is really, really hype, okay? I really hope it's not something that's just used in the trailer. I hope that is, like, if that's a tell for the kind of soundtrack, which I'm assuming it most likely is, for the actual series. In terms of the musical accompaniment department, I think we're going to be good, all right? That's really solid. So, yeah, it's only 1 minute and 30 seconds or so. It's not a very long trailer, but there's a lot of stuff to cover, okay? So first and foremost, this is the establishing shot of the trailer. This is, of course, Fuchsia Village. We've already seen Fuchsia in a lot of the promotional photos from set and, like, the giant windmills and everything. That boat off to the side, that pirate ship, is, in fact, the Red Force from what it looks like with the figurehead. So this is a scene that will be taking place during Luffy's backstory, I would assume. And so it starts off with a kind of a voiceover by Iñaki, who plays Luffy right here. And so he's like, ever since I was a little kid, the sea has always called me, right? And, oh, by the way, I didn't even notice this the first time, but yeah, so he has the scar, right? But obviously in the manga and anime, the scar is just like, it's just like a marker, like a Sharpie marker. Here, it's actually a real life scar. So that's going to be, there's cosmetic changes to the characters as there needs to be, okay? I feel like I should bring that right up front because it does not bother me at all, but you know what? There's some people that have this feeling that like it has to be a one-to-one transfer, and I feel like no, that's not how live action can work. Live action is not a one-to-one manga ratio. You have to change some things. So Usopp does not have a super long nose in this. Sanji does not have the twirly eyebrow. For some reason, if that would bother you, I guess this isn't for you, but I just wanted to bring that up right out of the gate. Okay, so there is Luffy. And there is the Going Merry. Interesting. I'm not really sure where this scene takes place. If this scene is taking place, obviously Luffy is, an adult here, so I'm not really sure if this is taking place at Syrup Village. Like, they're getting the Merry there, or maybe they'll rework it to get the Merry earlier. I'm not really thinking that's going to be a huge deal, but it's really cool to see the Merry there. Luffy's like reaching out and touching the figurehead and everything like that. Also, Luffy wears different shirts in this, which I like because that's actually something a normal human being that's not a cartoon character would do. It's like one of those things. It's just like, Luffy, oh my god, he goes through like 3 or 4 different shirts in this trailer alone. I'm like, okay, that's good. He's like a normal human being that has like an actual closet of clothing. It's not just one red vest the entire time. Once again, something that works perfectly fine for manga and anime, but when it comes to live action, maybe having a more diverse wardrobe would work. And the Hawaiian shirt aesthetic, I think, works perfectly fine here. This is a great set. This is the Baratier. I love that they incorporated that into the trailer. You could tell they are very, very proud of this. I saw some promotional images of this when I was still under construction, so this is like the finished product, and it just looks incredible. Okay, like they are really proud of this, as they should be. So we have multiple levels of this restaurant. I'm not even sure what all they're gonna like incorporate with it. I'm assuming that part at the very top is going to be Zeph's quarters, where he's going to be hanging out, and then you have just Baratier written on the side there. This is a great rendition of this. Obviously, you can't do, like, once again, you can't like, hey guys, let's go out in the middle of the ocean and have a boat there, so it's going to be moored by the docks, and I think it works fine. I think it works great. Okay, this is a phenomenal set. I cannot wait. My favorite part of the East Blue is the Baratier, because before Frankie was introduced, Sanji was my favorite Straw Hat. Okay, well, I guess before Robin and before Frankie were introduced, Sanji was my favorite Straw Hat in the East Blue, and so I can't wait till we get to the Baratier. That's going to be fun. Here is an establishing shot of Shellstown and the Marine base. So I really love this. I really love the layout of this town. And by the way, I don't even know if this looks like an actual location, but I can't really tell if they add, I mean, obviously the base is like CG'd in, but I guess the rest of this is an actual town. They probably maybe added a little bit to it to like fill it out a little bit more. I haven't actually looked into that, so I'm not sure. But like just in terms of the location for this place, that looks really good. And then we get inside of Shellstown, and the voiceover continues, and Luffy is just like, I'm gonna go out to sea, I'm gonna be king of the pirates, I just need to find a crew. Okay, and so now we have the establishing shots here of the inside of the base, where Zoro is tied up outside, being starved to death by, Captain Morgan as well as Helmeppo. And okay, so in the background there, we have this giant banner of Captain Morgan in this, like, honestly kind of like North Korea dear leader kind of aesthetic going on here. And you know what I think this is gonna be? So in the anime, what Captain Morgan did was he had this giant statue of himself, and he was like, he's really cruel, and he's like ordering his men to like hoist up the giant statue of myself. So I'm thinking what they might be doing, other than the statue, they're gonna have this giant banner furl down of just like, aha, I am awesome. You know what I mean? This kind of like Kim Jong-un-esque banner that exists. And for Captain Morgan and his personality and the kind of character, the kind of villain that he is in this, that fits his ego perfectly well. So I just wanted to point that out there. So then we have Luffy asking Zoro to join his crew, all right? So this is Makenyu. My one friend who wasn't really super familiar with One Piece recognized Makenyu immediately. And so if you've ever seen the Rurouni Kenshin live action, Makenyu was in that, and if that's any of a telling for his sword skills, they picked the perfect person to play Zoro. So there's Zoro. He looks like Zoro. I really don't have any other thing. I mean, like, the hair looks fine, It's one of those things where going into it, it's just like, okay, in anime, we have a lot of very bright, vibrant colors, especially with hair colors. Zoro's hair is very bright green. Nami's hair is very bright orange. Sanji's hair, very bright yellow, very bright blonde. How is that going to translate exactly to live action? I think they picked the perfect shade of green here for the hair. It's not like, it's obviously distinguishing, but it's not like neon green or anything like that. I think it works great. This is a shot where we have Zoro fighting against, okay, so My mind immediately went to this is Kabaji because Zoro had the fight with Kabaji in the manga, and this is obviously just based off of the design with red hair, crazy mohawk, face paint, red sort of circus outfit. This is clearly a member of Buggy's crew. I can't tell exactly if this is the live action version of Kabaji or if this is just another random character on Buggy's crew that Zoro is going to fight with briefly, or if this is just like maybe a new character they introduced like in lieu of Kabaji. All right, maybe something like that. Like, so instead of Zoro fighting Kabaji as in the manga, he'll fight this character in the live action. So either way, it's going to be perfectly fine. Like Zoro having a fight with a member of Buggy's crew. That's like the point, the takeaway of this, okay? So, and once again, you can't really see it that much here because it is just the screenshots, but Makenyu's sword skills here are like, they are genuine, all right? They are like, he knows what he's doing here. Now, Zoro is using two sword style here, fighting against this person who's also using two sword style with these like scimitars, cutlasses kind of weapons. Later on in the trailer, we actually do see a shot of Zoro having the Wado Ichimonji in his mouth. Okay, so they are going ahead with that. They are going to be doing, all right, Zoro's three-sword style. I'm assuming they are going to keep the three-sword style to, the big moments, big attacks, like final finishing moves, kind of stuff like that. They might limit it to that. And Zoro might keep just one sword style, two sword style for most of the time. Obviously, this enemy right here is probably not all that powerful compared to Zoro, so the idea of him busting out, I just think the idea of Zoro using Santoryu in the live action is going to carry a lot more weight to it because it's going to be very, very reserved for only like really cool attacks and really strong opponents. So like obviously when we get to Mihawk, he's going to use three sword style, okay? And stuff like that. So I think when we do see Zoro using Santoryu in the live action, that's going to be a bigger deal. Like, okay, shit's on now. Let's go. Yeah. Also, I like the fact they kept up with the swords. So you have the Wado Ichimonji, obviously. You have Zoro's, white blade. And then you also have the two unnamed swords that he just carried around that are eventually going to be broken by Mihawk, and then he's going to get his new blades, Yubashiri and Sandai at Logtown. But at this point, yeah, these are just two random katanas that he's just going to bust out and use, okay? And that they look exactly like they do in the anime. There's really no difference there. Let's see. Zoro's stomach band has a little bit more detail with it, so it actually looks better in my opinion. His sash, his bandana is black, which is good because in the original, well, in the anime, it's always like a dark green, and I like the dark green sash, like the bandana. I think it works fine. But in the original manga, it is very clearly just a black bandana, which is more, I think, just intimidating when Zoro puts it on. So that's that. Then we have Emily Rudd playing Nami. And in this scene, because Luffy kind of leads this up to, he's like, hey, we're going to the Grand Line. And then you have Emily Rudd playing Nami here, who has, I think, the perfect mix of, like, seriousness, but also, like, a dash of sarcasm in this scene, which I really like in terms of, like, getting to know her personality here, where it's like, the way she says it is, it's a treacherous line of ocean, bigger islands, more pirates, and the way she says it is almost kind of like Luffy will be like, hey, Nami, let's go to the Grand Line, it'll be fun, and then Nami's like, Luffy, this is an extraordinarily dangerous stretch of sea where there's crazy islands and crazy pirates and crazy monsters. You realize that, right? And then Luffy's like, yeah, like that kind of. So it also helps with the humor a bit. And we're going to get another scene with Emily and Makenyu here in a moment that's going to really, speak a little bit more of the type of humor they're going with. It's one of those things, I don't really know how to describe it other than just the vibe. All right, like, what is the vibe of this live action series going to be? Because as I said, you can't exactly, and Oda even mentioned this in his letter, translating not just the humor from a two-dimensional manga to a live action, but also the humor aspect and the vibe from different cultures, because it's a Japanese anime, Japanese manga, and this is a worldwide sort of demographic, okay? And so how do you make that appeal to, like, everybody? Where do you get that? And I basically, I think a lot of people came to the conclusion they're going to have to kind of make their own vibe, make their own sense of humor here to make this work. You can't just take what was funny and what worked in the manga and just stick it in the live action, which is I think what a lot of live action series do, and just expect it to work. And a lot of times it doesn't work, okay? So you kind of have to make your own thing, which is therefore more difficult. But when you get it, when you nail it, it works great. And I honestly think, just based off of, once again, it's only a minute and 30-second trailer, okay? But just based off of the trailer and the sense of humor that we're getting from this and the tone and how the crew are going to interact with one another, I am a fan of that. I actually really like that, okay? So, this is a brief scene where we have the Lord of the Coast attacking the dinghy with Shanks and Luffy in it after Higama takes him. So, there's Shanks, played by Peter Gaudio. I wrote down all of the names. I'm trying to get them phonetically correct, okay? Because, you know, they're actual actors. So, Peter Gaudio playing Shanks. And I haven't seen what most of these actors have been in, if they've been in anything prior. The only thing is I've seen the Rurouni Kenshin live action with Makenyu. That's pretty much it there. But, you know, so there's the scene there with the Lord of the Coast. Lord of the Coast looks really good. Most of the sea monsters here look really well. There's even actually, I don't know if that's the Lord of the Coast's tail or if that's like another sea king that's back there, but the design of the monsters look great. I think they look really good here. They look like a giant sea monster coming out of the ocean that's going to chomp off Shanks' arm. Spoiler alert. That's good there. Then we have, this is Alvida's ship. This is the Miss Love Duck. I think they did a perfect job with this. This looks like the Miss Love Duck in the anime. Just go look it up. I mean, it's pretty similar there. And then that is a great design with the ships, as always. They have the pirates attacking here. So I feel like with this one, we're going to see a lot more like naval combat and things than we would see in the anime. You know, that's actually something in One Piece that they don't do so much of. They don't really do like actual naval combat, you know, fire the cannonballs. Oh, they're grabbing the ropes and swinging over to the other crew. You know, we get some of that in the East. Actually, that's probably the most of the time we do get that is in the East, like when Alvida raids that cruise ship, which I think was actually anime only. But I'm actually interested in that angle with it, where it's like, hey, you know, this is, at the end of the day, it's a show based on pirates. So I think it would actually been really cool if they went back, and obviously you have to add the One Piece veneer to it, as in, you know, the Miss Love Duck itself. But like, hey, this is how pirates fought. This is how naval combat went. This is how pirates would, you know, raid an enemy ship and pillage and plunder. And that's like the whole point of pirates. You know what I mean? So their pirates are acting like pirates. That's good. And I don't know what the level of historical accuracy will be, but we'll see. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. This is Jeff Ward in full costume and makeup playing Buggy the D Clown. The D Clown. This was the reaction when I'm with my friends on this couch watching this on the TV, 6 of us, and when Buggy appears on screen, we're all just like, whoa, okay. Now, here's the thing. I love Buggy's design. I love Jeff Ward, okay? This is going to be a highlight right here, because this dude, you could tell, is 100% in character. So many people have compared Buggy's design here, of course, to the anime design of Buggy. And they've compared it kind of like Buggy in the anime and the manga is a little bit more of a goofy, silly kind of clown, whereas live-action Jeff Ward Buggy is like Pennywise murder clown kind of clown, all right? And all I have to say to that is, guys, he's a clown pirate. All right, now listen, let me ask you a question, all right? If you were going to be a clown pirate, like if your thing was you're going to go out to sea and be a pirate, and your whole aesthetic, your brand is going to be clowns, are you going to go goofy, silly, wacky clown with it, or are you going to go murder clown, you know, Pennywise kind of with it? Now, I could see applications for both, but dude, if there was like an actual historical pirate that wanted to express terror and fear into the people that he's attacking, dressing up like this would fucking succeed at that venture, okay? Like, he looks like, if you just think, clown pirate, like, he's got the yellowed teeth, and he's got the creepy grin. It looks like, honestly, more of just, like, you know, blood, honestly, like he just ripped his damn cheeks open, you know what I mean? If you saw this guy as the captain of a crew, would you mess with this dude? would you be like, oh my goodness, he looks so silly like that? No, this dude is terrifying. All right, you better be lucky that Buggy the Clown never descends upon your village. The citizens of Orangetown fled for good reason. Okay, like, this guy's coming into town. You would be thinking, all right, this guy is going to murder us all, and he's also insane. That's a great combination. And also works great for being a fucking pirate, okay? So I love Jeff Ward's costume here, and I think he's going to knock this out of the park. This is the takeaway. I mean, a lot of people were also talking about the Straw Hats and how they, played off each other and everything like that, and the special effects and the CG, but I think the major takeaway from this trailer is this snapshot right here is Jeff Ward playing Buggy the Clown. All right, so I'm actually really excited. Now, I was a little nervous because Buggy is Buggy. I'm like, how are they going to translate this? And, part of me thought, like, okay, are they just going to go, silly, wacky kind of clown with it? You know what I mean? In terms of makeup. Is that how they're going to do it? And I'm actually really glad they didn't. I'm glad they went ahead, was like, no, let's make Buggy. He's still a clown, but it's a menacing, insane clown. All right, this is the serial killer clown. All right, yeah, that fits. I think that tracks. All right, so this is the scene with Nami and Zorro with McKenyu and Emily Rudd here. And they're having a scene where Zorro, like, takes a big chest of something and he just, like, lays it down really rough. And then Emily Rudd is like, hey, be careful with that. And Kenyu's like, hey, you don't tell me what to do, boss me around. And then Luffy's there, just like, I'm sensing some tension between the crew. And both of them together simultaneously are like, we're not a crew. And then it moves on to the next scene. Okay, so this is what I mean by one of those things that's like a vibe. Okay, and maybe you don't feel the vibe. I do. All I can tell you is like my subjective viewpoint here, okay? But let's talk about Luffy for a moment here. Let's talk about the way Inaki portrays him and the way that Luffy kind of reacts to everyone around him in this trailer, okay? So, Luffy ate a devil fruit at a young age. He was 7 years old when he got the powers of the Gum Gum no Mi, okay? And he could stretch his body like rubber. Keep in mind a couple of things here, okay? The East Blue, not a lot of devil fruit users. There's Luffy, there's Buggy, and then, like, later on we'll get Smoker and Alvida, and, like, that's it. Okay, so most people in the East Blue have never really seen devil fruit abilities before, and these are wacky, supernatural abilities that characters can do. Like, Luffy can bend his body, he's made of rubber. That's weird, okay? That's weird. And the crazy thing is, like, everyone else is kind of playing it a little bit more, like, straight, where it's like, okay, we're in this world, there's pirates raiding villages, there's bounty hunters, there's bandits, the Marines are out there doing stuff. Like, this is a really kind of serious world we're living in, where, like, a lot of pirates are, like, burning towns down and stuff like that, okay? And then you meet a kid from out in the middle of the boonies, pretty much, that, didn't really have that much contact with the outside world. And he's just like, I'm going to be king of the pirates. Check it out. I can stretch my body. And you're just going to be sitting there like, this guy is insane. But it's sort of like, how to describe it? It's like infectious in a way, where it's like Nami and Zoro's characters are like aware of the world they live in. Like, Zoro was a bounty hunter. He's been traveling. He's dealt with pirates before. Nami's whole backstory with Arlong is a lot more serious, okay? So they're just like, this kid is silly. This kid is, like, jumping around, super energetic. Like, this is too much. You need to settle down. The world is like, we're not going to go on some big, fun, happy adventure in the Grand Line. It's a very dangerous place to go. And then Luffy's like, nah, it's okay. We can do it. We're a crew. We can go. Come on, guys. And I feel like over time, this is going to be the setup for a kind of running gag. I think that's what they're kind of doing here, where they're like, we're not a crew. And it's like, yeah, that's when they first meet. Because right now, I mean, like, they kind of aren't a crew. There's only 3 of them. So their reaction, Nami and Zoro's being a little bit more, like, lived out in the world a little bit of the East, are like, we're just, like, okay, we're just this ragtag group of people on a boat, and you're this super energetic guy that is so strange and so out there. And you have these crazy magic abilities that none of us have seen before. We don't even really know what to make of this, but we're not really a crew yet. But then, as the story arcs continue, as we meet Usopp, as we meet Sanji, and things continue and adventures, happen, and, Luffy fights enemies and everything like that. Everybody has, like, moments and they bond together. I think there's going to be a little bit of a running gag where they're going to start off like me, like, we're not a crew. They're probably going to say it a few times, and then we're going to have a moment in the season, probably near the end, it's just like, we are a crew. You know what, Luffy? Yeah, let's do it. Grand Line, who cares? Let's go. Yeah. And it's like Luffy has kind of won over the crew. Okay, this weird guy that grew up out in the middle of the mountains that can stretch his body, and he's like, okay, he's like, this guy's way too energetic and way too hyper. He doesn't understand anything about how the world really works. We're gonna ground him, and instead it works in the opposite way, where Luffy just, is like, he wins over Zoro and Nami and Usopp and Sanji, and just like, come on, let's go on this crazy adventure and have a really fun time. And they're like, you know what? Okay, Captain, let's do it. All right, I think that's the vibe we're going with, and I'm fine with that. I think it's going to work perfectly, and Inaki plays him very well here. Okay, then we get a scene here. This is actually Garp's ship, which is really cool. Garp's ship looks way more beast here. The dog figurehead looks cool. It has like this metal like spike on the front of it on the bow of the ship that's like cutting through the waves. That's really cool. Cannonballs flying out, which is obviously not just probably Garp actually throwing a cannonball. So that's pretty cool. We only get the one shot of this. And then we see Jacob Gibson, who's playing Usopp in this. As I said earlier, they're not going to do, I don't know, maybe they considered it. Maybe for a moment in the makeup department, they considered maybe we should give Usopp the nose. Maybe we should give Sanji the eyebrow. Maybe they tried a few different, things, and it was very clear this just doesn't work. Also, if he had this prosthetic on his face, that would so limit the way that he can act, I feel. So it's like, no, this is not going to work. It's not going to be a good one-to-one transfer. Let's just have him act as he is without like a big piece of prosthetic on his face, okay? So this is Usopp. And we don't see a lot of Usopp and Sanji in the trailer. We see more of Emily and Makenyu. But here is the shot of Luffy falling in the water at the Baratier. A different shirt, by the way. And then here's Sanji, played by Taz Skylar. And as you can see, he doesn't have the eyebrow. What are we going to do? He looks fine, guys. I think he looks great. I think he looks really badass here, okay? So he dives in and goes shirtless and then like picks up Luffy and drags him out of the water. So that's that scene from the manga. That's the scene. Oh my god, wait, holy shit. Guys, we're seeing the other side of Sanji's face so early here. We're seeing his other eye. It's like, all right, that's an awesome scene. All right. And then we have, okay, so I'm thinking this is the scene with the battle at Shell's Town Marine Base, considering the backdrop and everything. Okay, so Luffy punches out, like, just Marines are just storming the entire courtyard, and then you just have Luffy and Zoro and Nami and Emily as well, all fighting, okay? So I think they're going to be doing the thing that they did in the anime where they introduced Nami way earlier. Nami shows up pretty early, like basically at Shell's Town in the anime. You see her sneaking into the Marine base to find a treasure map that has been stolen by Buggy, and then that kind of moves us on to Orange Town. So, getting to the trio very quickly of just having like, okay, let's just get Luffy, Zoro, Nami kind of like within the first few episodes. I don't know if they're going to do like Romance Dawn, like the whole flashback in the first episode. This might be episode 2, maybe, with Shell's Town, possibly. But like, let's just get to that stuff first, okay? So we have Nami introduced a little earlier, and I'm fine with that. I've never really been very critical of the way that they changed the beginning of One Piece around, because if you read the manga and the anime, it's a different way. The pacing is completely separate and devoid. It's like in the first chapter of One Piece in the manga is nothing but the flashback of Shanks and Luffy meeting. Like, that's the whole chapter, okay? And so meanwhile, in the first episode of the anime, we get introduced to Luffy, we get introduced to Kobe, we get introduced to Nami, I think, at that point. Yeah, she was on the cruise ship, so they changed it around, but either or, I think it works fine. Okay, here's Jacob again as Usopp with the slingshot. So slingshot is Usopp's slingshot. That looks perfect. That looks awesome. And then here's a scene with Taz playing Sanji, kicking somebody's arm, which is clearly, that's full body on the right. It just looks like a generic pirate on the left. So I'm not sure. Is that supposed to be, maybe that might be Geen? I'm not sure if it's Geen or just generic pirate. Like maybe, you know, Full Body pulls out a pistol to like shoot a pirate in the Baratier. Like I could actually see that as an interaction. Like there's a pirate that's eating in the Baratier, and Full Body is like, why is there a pirate in here? I'm a Marine lieutenant. And so he's about to like cause a scene, and then Sanji comes out of the kitchen. He's like, what are you doing? This is a fancy establishment, sir. And just kicks Full Body's hand straight down. So that'll be cool. And then here's the famous shot leaving Logtown with the barrel. He's like, you know, we're a pirate crew. They all declare their dreams. And I think this would be the final moment where they actually all declare to themselves, you know, we are a crew. We are the Straw Hats. Okay. It's one thing. It's like maybe that running gag will exist because season 1 is only 8 episodes. So you can have that running gag for a while. And at the very end, they all declare like, you know what? We're on board with you, Luffy. We're going to do this. We're going to the Grand Line. Why not? Let's have this adventure. We believe in you. You know, we all have dreams. We all want to fulfill them. It's the time to do it. Let's go, right? And then we have the last shot. The last shot of the trailer. Okay, and this is great. Okay, so first of all, we have Kobe back there. Kobe is played by Morgan Davies. And so Kobe looks like Kobe. Actually, they nailed Kobe pretty damn well back there. Kobe is just like, he's like, oh my God, guys, I don't know. This is scary. You know, they got his glasses, they got his hair. He just looks like scrawny kid that's just like, what's going on? You know, like that's basically Kobe in a nutshell, okay? You know, if they ever do One Piece D&D live action, we should get Morgan Davies to play Cyril. I think he would do a great job at that as well. But anyway, all right. So this scene, you have Luffy. This is the very end of the trailer. The music is crescendoing, and then it just goes done, and it's just like, gum, pistol, all right? So you see the shot. It's like a tracking shot where Luffy extends his arm backwards, okay? And obviously, this is CG, and this is another thing a lot of people were nervous about, like, okay, now here's the thing. This is one shot. It's also at night, which is going to, you know, that is going to affect things here. It's different, you know, if it's like during light of day, they're using the darkness here. So he's stretching it back. We do a panning kind of tracking shot as he's stretching it back. But the thing that sold it for me was, you barely see it, was the reaction on Alvida's face, okay? So Alvida's played by Ililia. I'm sorry, I'm really trying to get the pronunciations right here. Elia Paulino. And you can barely see it because it zooms in really fast, and then boom, it goes to the next shot here, okay? But this made me laugh because you have Luffy on the deck about to attack Alvida. He stretches out his arm, and Alvida's reaction is like, oh, what the fuck? Boom! And then, because that's funny to me. That's funny to me. You have Alvida, who is a pirate, like just a standard pirate in the One Piece world, okay? She does not have a devil fruit yet, nothing like that, okay? And so she's like, I'm gonna like kick your ass, right? Like Luffy and Kobe. And it's like, Kobe, you know, I'm taking you back on my ship and I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm gonna like kill you, you stupid like straw hat kid or whatever. And then the last thing you expect is this kid with a straw hat to stretch his arm like, you know, 100 feet back, and then just boom, right in your face. And the reaction is so funny to me because it's just like, I can't even process what is happening right now. What are you? What is this? You stretched out your arm. Oh my God, boom. And it's like just the look of absolute confusion sells this for me. It really does. Of like, I want this reaction to be on so many characters of like, we are like regular pirates, you know, shiver me timbers, matey, we'll take your plunder, you know, and then this kid shows up and is stretching around his body like, I don't know what to make of this, oh God! You know, like that sold it for me. All right, and then we have this last scene where Luffy is freeing Zoro here, and he's like, all great fighters call out their finishing moves, and Zoro is just like, there's a slight pause, and it's just like, no, they don't. And then it just moves on. Now, something else that I think is going to be a running gag with this, because I see, do you see the vibe they're going with here? Calling out your finishing move, okay? That is a very anime manga trope, okay? That has been around for a long, long, long time, okay? Does that translate to live action? I think it can, but you have to do it a certain way. And I think the way they're going to do it is very similar to, like, at first, they're just like, they're not going to know what to make of Luffy. and then they're eventually going to warm up to him. And I think what's going to happen is something similar with this. I think this is going to be another running gag a little bit where Luffy, remember, Luffy has trained his entire life since he was a little kid out in the mountains with his gum gum fruit, okay? And so Luffy's coming up with like, he learned how to be a pirate from Shanks and stuff. So he's out there in the woods as a kid and he's practicing his devil fruit. And he's like, oh, I'm going to call this gum gum pistol. I'm going to call this gum gum rocket. I'm going to call this gum gum bullet. Oh yeah, because Luffy doesn't really know what the bigger world is like. He's kind of isolated, right? So he's going to be going out there in the world and just being like, hey, calling out your attack names, that's cool, right? That sounds awesome. And then everybody's reaction would be like, no, that's stupid. We're not going to do that. Nobody does that. But then I think it's going to warm up on them, and then they're going to start doing it. It's going to be like Zoro's going to be like, Onigiri! And it's like, all right, that was actually really cool. That was actually really badass. And also, hey, here's an idea too. Let's say you do get magical powers. Let's say you ate a devil fruit and actually got the abilities of said devil fruit. Like you can like stretch your arms or whatever. You could chop up your whole body, right? You could shoot electricity. Would you not come up with cool attack names and then shout them like, heaven-shaking sky cannon, Of course you would do that. Why wouldn't you do that? You can do it. Luffy can. It's like, dude, I could stretch my body. I could punch people. I could fly, gum gum rocket, gum gum whip. Why wouldn't I call out my attack names? That's cool. It's like I'm the only one that could do these kind of crazy shit. I'm going to own it, right? And so I'd be like, yeah, that's so dorky, man. You don't do that. But then it's like, wait a second, all right, that is actually pretty cool. That is actually pretty neat to say that. If you have magical abilities or really highly polished sword skills, own it. You know what I mean? Own it. Yeah. All right. And then we have One Piece, the title, coming on Netflix, only on Netflix, August 31st. Okay. And then that is the scene there. Okay. So that is the One Piece trailer, the first trailer. So we're getting this pretty soon. I mean, it's halfway through June right now, so we only got about 2.5 months, I'd say, right at the tail end of August, if that maintains its release date. I mean, things could always pop up, but I'll tell you what, I think the immediate reaction, the overwhelming reaction, I would say the majority of the reaction, has been positive from this trailer. I think some highlights were definitely Buggy. Absolutely. Most people seem to really enjoy the Straw Hats. I don't really see too much criticism over Emily's portrayal of Nami, Makenyu for Zoro, Iñaki for Luffy. Like I said, we don't see as much of Jacob or Taz in this in terms of action. I don't even think they have speaking lines in this. I don't think they do. No, I think the only speaking lines are Iñaki, Makenyu, and Emily. But yeah, so they show up a little bit later though in the arc, in the season, so that would make sense too. And I've already made a whole video on like breaking down like what would the episodes be and everything like that, like which arc would cover which episode and everything like that. So I've already discussed that. I'm not going to go into that there. I would say the biggest criticisms that people had over the trailer were like, okay, how does this CG look? And once again, we only get to see the CG of Luffy's arm, I think twice here. We see it here in this shot, and then we see it with Alvida. And then those are the only two shots. And as I said, this shot was at night, and so maybe they're using that for some stuff. Honestly, I've seen worse. I've seen way worse CG, okay? But, this is Luffy's power. I would say as far as CG superpowers go, there could be way more complicated abilities to showcase than this. Simply, like, stretching your arms, I feel like is pretty easy compared to some of the more esoteric, ridiculous abilities we'll get later in the series. And that's another thing, too. Like, if this does really well and we go season 2, I think then it's going to start to get like, all right, how are we going to do some of these islands? How are we going to do Chopper? How are we going to do these characters, right? And then later on, if it gets to like, after Alabasta, we get to like Skypiea, like how are we going to do that? But that's way, way years further down the line. The season 1 has to do well first, and from the reaction I've gotten from the trailer overall, I think it's going to do okay. I think, I'll say this. I'm feeling a lot more confident in this than I was in other live-action properties. I'm feeling way more confident than I felt over the Cowboy Bebop one, and over the Death Note live-action, and like a million leagues over whatever the hell Dragon Ball Evolution was. And I know, like that's still like such a popular thing to shit on Dragon Ball Evolution, even though it came out like well over like 15 years ago. And this, this is a Netflix property. It's different. It was a completely different studio and everything. But like that is kind of the gold standard on how not to make a live action anime is Dragon Ball Evolution. And I think this right here is very far from that. Do not worry. We're not going to get that. Excuse me. We're not going to get that level quality. All right. We're going to do way better than that. All right. So yeah. I'm not sure if they're going to release another trailer, maybe closer to the release. I feel like they might. Maybe within like a couple weeks of the actual release of the episodes, maybe they might do trailer number 2, maybe expand on it a little bit. But yeah, so far, I mean, there's some criticisms here, but like, honestly, I really like it. The music really worked. The characters, like I said, from day one, I said, I don't think the actors are going to be an issue here. The actors, I think, are usually not the reason why live action anime fails. It's usually a slew of other reasons. But yeah, I think this works great, and I can't wait to see more from these characters. So good job to everybody on the production, and August 31st, we'll see where it goes. I believe I've decided I'm going to do episode by episode reviews. I don't know if they're going to release them probably in honestly, I kind of hope they release them week by week just to make it easier on myself, but they're probably going to release them in like the batches just like Netflix usually does. And so if that's the case, what we're going to do, then I'll just have to do like, maybe one episode a week, and then kind of try to avoid spoilers as much as I can. But, honestly, and just, do one episode a week and try to break it down that way. That might be how I do it, or maybe 2 episodes a week. I'll have to figure out the exact schedule. But I thought about sitting down and doing like okay, watching all 10 and then just doing a retrospective like that. And I don't think that's the best way to do it. I think the best way to do it is to break it down episode by episode. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you feel about this trailer down below. I'll leave the link to the actual trailer up in a card and in the description. Yeah, that's all I have for you today. Later, everybody. See you on the, well, I guess not the Grand Line yet. See you in the East Blue. Later.